What's up, everybody? So today I want to talk about a little topic called race readiness. We are getting into the point of winter that I like to call bottom dead center. This is the time when we haven't raced in a few months. We're right at the middle belly of the winter. It's usually snowed everywhere by now, and it's going to be a couple more months before we get to race again. And this is the time that we all start to get antsy and we want to get back out to the track. And this is also the time of year where track promoters, event promoters, they're releasing the schedules for the upcoming season. And it's very easy this time of the year, especially if you have a new build that you've been working on for a long time, or even if you've done a bunch of updates to your truck, you're really antsy to get back out to the track. And we always look for what's the coolest event. You know, what's the first event we can go to, and what's the coolest event that we can go to. And a lot of times by doing that, because we're kind of getting our emotions involved, we're not ready. You know, we don't really have a lot of business being at those events because we're not tested yet. If you've ever built one of these things from scratch, then you know how much time it takes to sort one of these things out. If you are building one of these things from scratch and you haven't got to the sorting it out part yet, just let me tell you, it takes some time to do it all right. A good example is JP's truck. When I was handed over the driving duties of that truck in late 2019, we had been running that truck for almost 3 years, and we had a lot of stuff sorted out with it. The truck had already been 508, 506, 505. It had already been consistently 119 60 foots, and it was basically here's the keys, go run a 4 with it. And it took me, we started running the truck early 2020. I went down in February to when Ryan Milliken used to own ECD down in Florida. And I went down there and got my license in the truck, got acclimated with it. And we started running the truck in March of that year. And it took me until the end of October to run that 4-second pass. And we had already been 505. So I was given a proven combo, and it still took me a year to just pick up a couple numbers. Now, of course, that was a COVID year. It was hard to get a track there for several months. But regardless, point is this stuff doesn't come easy. The newer the build, the harder it is to line out. I used to never think about testing because when I started into this diesel venture, I got into diesels in 2011. I got heavy into racing diesels in 2013. Back in those times, it was primitive. It was like the Wild West out there. That was back when nitrous was the devil. Whole sets and 12 valves ruled the world. Common rails were a joke. It was a very different time period back then, and everything was very unreliable. The parts selection that was out there is nothing like it is today. The information that was available is nothing like it is today, and you tore up a lot of stuff. So guys would forego testing because if you tested, you might not make the event because you're probably going to tear it up. You know, you were either going to tear it up testing or you were going to tear it up at the event. And, you know, some of that mentality is always carried through with me. And I'm the guy that's guilty. I get antsy and I'm like, I want to go to that event. And it's like, you want to hurry up and scramble and get it done. The first passes I ever made in this truck was at UCC, which is probably the biggest diesel event. And then that same year, I was gunning to go run quarter mile at Import vs. Domestic up in Maryland, which is arguably the biggest drag racing event that there is. And I was by no means ready to do any of that stuff. I had been spoiled by JP's truck because even though I had that, you know, kind of struggle for that year to get it to run the number, and I learned a lot through that, I still had this mentality that I could take a brand new truck and I could sort it out in a handful of runs and, you know, we'd be good to go. And what it really taught me was that, okay, haha, that's a joke. No, you're not. You've got a lot to learn, especially when you build something weird and one-off, you know, like a first gen. You're kind of paving your own way to some degree, and there's a lot of things that are specific on this truck that don't translate to other trucks. So where I'm going with this is just that take a step back. Don't get so antsy on wanting to make whatever first event or any of that stuff. Slow down and work on getting the thing lined out. Make sure, like all the things I always preach about. If you're a frequent of this channel, you're probably tired of hearing this stuff by now. But make it spool up, first thing. It never needs to leave your driveway until that thing spools up in 5 seconds or less. Make it be able to stage, work on staging. These are all things that you can do at your house. Get all that stuff 100% lined out. It will take longer than you think to get one stageable. If you're gonna do 4-wheel drive burnouts, go practice those. If you're, whatever your burnout procedure is, go practice that stuff. It takes a lot of runs. Don't go past the 60 foot until you've got this thing lined out, until it's actually going fast to the 60 foot, especially if it's a new build. There's so many things that can go wrong on a brand new build if you go out there and bust it out, run it all the way down the track. Yeah, you can do it, and yes, you can get lucky, but I think of it like being a first-time gambler, going to the blackjack table, never playing blackjack before, and throwing down a $1,000 bet and doubling down on it on your first hand. That's kind of what you're doing, because we spend so much time, money, and effort on these things, and a brand new combination, you don't know what it's going to do. You don't know what boost is going to do, drive pressure, EGT, transmission pressure. There's just 100 things on these trucks that you don't know what they're going to do until you go out there and run them. And so you just short track them. Go out there, run it 60 foot, let out of it. You know, let it make the 1-2 shift, get out of it. Go back and check your data. See, does the EGT look good? Is your engine builder happy with that? Is your tuner happy with what he's seeing? If you're tuning it yourself, are you happy with what you're seeing? How's the transmission pressure look? How's everything look? Well, how's your shifts look? Just every aspect of the run, pick away, pick away, pick away. And you'll realize that this is going to take you a full year. This past year, if you've been following along with me, you know that I didn't go to the stripe in this truck until the very last run of the year. It was still slow, but it looked way better than it ever has before, and everything is the happiest that it's ever been before, because I set aside trying to go out there and, I wanted to run 5s right off the bat, and I ran 5s relatively quickly. But it wasn't something that could be consistently repeated. I couldn't stage in a timely manner. I, was dependent on what track I went to, if I could drive around the water. It was just, I didn't have a good program. So take a step back. Don't get so antsy on getting to these new events. Get your whole program together. Get your truck lined out, making laps before you go and try to take these things to these big events. I've seen, and it's really unfortunate when I see this, but I see guys that get nice stuff. They get a good transmission, they get a good engine, good turbo, good injectors. They spend the money, they buy the nice stuff. They throw it all together, they have no data logging, or even if they do have data logging, they're not paying attention to it, and they get to the track as fast as they can with it, completely untested, and they try to make full rips right off the get-go, and they tear something up. And you'll tear something up more times than not doing it that way. And then I see time and time again, those same people, they get discouraged because they bought all the nice stuff, and so they expected that it would all last. And it's not any of the product's fault, it's just the fact that you haven't given it a chance to learn it, to know how to treat it. And I see those same people end up quitting and selling everything off, and it makes me sad. So it's never good for anybody in the industry when guys get out of this stuff. So that's all I have for this one, guys. I just want you to kind of rethink your builds as you're approaching planning season, is what I would call this, when you're planning on what you want to do. And if it doesn't work out, that you don't make that event, it's okay, because you're going to be much better off to just test that thing locally and make sure everything's playing nice than to make that one cool event one time and then be broke for the rest of the year, possibly end up getting discouraged and quitting. So that's just some words of advice. Hope that you guys find it helpful. I know that I wish I could have gone back a couple years and told myself that. It would have saved me, I would have put me further down the road. I'd be in a better position now than I am. Instead of me taking this whole last year to learn, if I'd have spent the first year learning, I'd be going a lot faster than I am now, and I'd be in a lot better position for this next coming year. So that's all I got for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share it with your buddies. I appreciate it. Catch you next time.